This fairly comfortable gentleman, maybe more than fairly financially comfortable, made his first trip to Meron in Israel, and he visited the grave of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and it's all new to him. And he's looking around the room, and he notices that there's a box that's stuffed with various types of papers. And he's a curious fellow. And he pulls one of the papers out of this box.
You're going to go to Walmart now? Okay. Go ahead.
He pulls this paper out of the box. It's it's not smooth. It's been wrinkled from some kind of moisture. Turns out really from tears. And the person who wrote this memo wrote a memo. He addressed it to Hashem, and in his letter, he said, Hashem, in the schus, in the merit of the righteousness of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, please come to my rescue. Please come and answer my need. I'm supposed to be making a wedding for my daughter soon, and I do not have the money. I need the equivalent of $40,000 in order that she should have the wedding, in order that she should have a place to live with her husband. I need $40,000. Please come to my rescue. And this man from America, it starts to chuckle in a derisive type of way. He's upset. He says, what? This man expects that someone is just going to send him $40,000? This is how he honors the memory of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that's what he's asking for. They're writing about such personal needs at this holy site, and he's disturbed by it. And perhaps with some haughtiness, he says, I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. And he decides that he is going to write a check for $40,000, and he's going to sign it Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, confident that his bank will never cash the check because it doesn't match the account signature. Once upon a time, they used to check that. I'm not so sure how long ago this story took place, but one way or another, you'll find out what happened. Because in that letter that this man from America is reading, and this fellow is asking for his needs to help this new chassan and kala get started in life, obviously he had to put his address down, whatever he was thinking. And the man actually sent him the check. Back in America, he's sitting at his desk, and but 6 weeks later, he's reviewing his bank statement, and lo and behold, he sees his balance is off. It's not what it's supposed to be. And he goes over and he sees a $40,000 debit from his account. And this is before online banking, or at least to this person's degree of comfort. He goes down to his branch, and he asks the branch rep to please show him a copy of this check. And the rep does so, brings him out the check, and the man sees he actually signed his own name to the check, and it was cashed. Turns out he writes a letter. He still had, when he was at the grave of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he didn't write the check there. He had written down the address of this fellow to do his stunt. And he had the address still in his records. And he sent a letter to this fellow telling him that he really made a mistake, that he really meant this as a joke, and he meant to sign Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's name to it. He didn't really mean to cash it. And the fellow receiving the note goes and consults with Rabbi Silverstein, tells him the story, and asks him, is there a way that he is obligated to return this money, even that he's willing to accept the stringency of lifnei mishurat hadin? There are things that in life we're asked to do that go beyond the letter of the law, to give more than we're asked to do, to absorb more if somebody maybe insulted us, who's maybe even trying to take advantage of us a little bit, that there is this value of going beyond what halacha requires. So if he's willing to accept him upon himself, this guy is a righteous man for asking this question. Just if I'm willing to go beyond the letter of the law on that basis, would there be an obligation for me to return the money? And Rabbi Silverstein based his answer on a selection in the Gemara Bava Basra. You know, just earlier this week, somebody sent me a copy of an article talking about a difficult time that a rabbi in the greater Muncie area was having. I actually know who this rabbi is, not really personally, even though I did host him once in my school in New York. He's at least yeshivish. Maybe in his life he would be called Haredi. Maybe he's even a chassid. I have no idea. But he is not only a wonderful gentleman, he's a very sophisticated educator, specifically for individuals who have special learning needs. And he is proficient in understanding family dynamics and does much counseling and gives talks, has written extensively, and he stood up to many other rabbis in his greater neighborhood who said that despite the coronavirus, that the other rabbis wanted to keep the shuls open, the schools open, and he said they have to close. He received threats for it, and he received an accusation of potentially being a moser, of reporting Jews to the authorities. And this Gemara, I mention that to you because it's connected to our Gemara. To understand the concept of moser, somebody who reports to a Jew to the authorities, we're talking about authorities that do not really have an ethical civil law, a society that was biased against Jews. So in this source in Bava Basra, we see a case like that, which unfortunately was repeated on a regular basis in terms of the general experience, where the king or the deed owner to various swaths of land would send designated collectors to collect tax from the Jews. And the king, let's say if it would be, or the governor, or whoever had that right to collect taxes, would say, I want X number of dollars. And there was no real objective means to assess the people. The collectors got what they went around and they got what they could get. And if it looked that they were going to come up short, they put more pressure on the people that were near the end of the list. So it wasn't a uniform ethical system. And the Gemara talks about the possibility of a person who the troops, the collectors skipped. Because he was skipped, in some measure, other people had to pay more. Does he have an obligation? to go and to somehow try to restore money in the community that people had to pay to make up for his absence of payment. And the Gemara says that was basically his gift, Mishamayim, that God sent him a gift and that he's not obligated to try to make financial recompense. And Rabbi Silberstein applied that basis to this question. He said that the man signed the check. He wasn't necessarily building up so much schus in the way that he wanted to make fun of the prayer of somebody in need, maybe a certain lack of sensitivity to the person in need, and not so respectful to the memory of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai either. And between all of those factors, he told the man that even if you want to go beyond the letter of the law, you may keep the money. You have no obligation to return the money. Let this story remind us of the following. Number one, to always be respectful. Whether they're famous people, to be respectful to their memory, or the ordinary person, and especially when we know that a person has difficulties in his or her life. And let us realize that we can get surprise salvation. This month of Iyar is a month of salvation. Yes, we call Nisan the month of Geula, of redemption. That's when we were formed into a nation, taking out of Egypt. But our redemption is not over until we receive Torah in Sivan. And this month Iyar is in the middle. And in this modern generation, and for many of us, some were born already with the establishment of the State of Israel. Others were witness in some measure to the establishment of Israel in 1948. And almost everybody online now was witness to the reunification of Yerushalayim. Both the independence of Israel and the reunification of Yerushalayim happened in this month of Iyar. So this is, in the modern era, another month of Geula and Yeshua, redemption and salvation. May Hashem bless us with good health. May we see it soon, hopefully, but we're not going to push it. But hopefully Hashem will bless us soon with the Yeshua, the rescue that we want. Let's have a very special month ahead.